Well, Joe and I were on our honeymoon, which is really interesting because I thought of this the other day. We were on the Oregon coast in a little town called Manzanita.
So we'd had these conversations, we kicked around a lot of names, we liked the idea of an ensemble, of a collaborative group working together. And we went into a little bar there on the right off the beach in Manzanita, Oregon. And Christiane excused herself.
At the time, I was a closet smoker, so I went to the washroom to have a cigarette.
So I'm sitting there by myself and I look at the beer list on the wall. They have all these great microbreweries in Oregon. I'm reading down the list and I came across Rogue Beer.
And I came back and Joe had this look on his face, which I've only ever seen twice. I've been married to him for 13 years. I've only ever seen it twice. That was the first time. He had this look on his face and he went, I have the name.
I got it. Company of Rogues.
And I said, yeah, that's it. Company of Rogues Actor Studio.
We were interested in creating a program that we thought was more comprehensive. We were interested in making actors do the real work, and something that would be intense and something that required actors to invest of themselves and to commit on a much deeper level in terms of the way they trained and the way they developed as creative artists, as actors.
We really wanted to build a creative home, whether that was a theater company or an acting studio or a film company.
Rogues would always be there as kind of that rock, kind of that home that they could return to.
And that's still all evolving, 13 years later. People run into each other in the street in New York and they go, oh, you're from Canada, Calgary, Company of Rogues.
Yeah, Rogues, man. And it's kind of neat to feel that our vision has spread as far as someplace like New York. We got people in Toronto and LA and Vancouver as well, but we get that a lot. And I think that when people run into someone else who trained at the studio, there is that connection.
The studio has put out some great actors, and it comes back in just really interesting ways constantly.
One derives inspiration from novels one reads along the way, from life experience, from the mountains. The greatest inspiration comes from the people that you meet every day, the things that you see, the things you experience, allowing yourself to go through fully all the emotions of life, whether it's sadness or pain or whether it's ecstasy and joy. And I think the more you allow yourself to go through that, then you bring that into your work.
Well, obviously there are actors that are my inspirations. I mean, I've always loved, De Niro. I've always loved Meryl Streep. I mean, those are sort of the old guard. New guard these days. I absolutely adore Philip Seymour Hoffman, Kate Blanchett. Actors who really take risks, who kind of push the envelope and really go beyond looking good and go into finding the guts and the meat and the darkness and the sinew of a character. My other inspirations are, I've always loved Emily Carr. From the time that I was a kid, I read all of her novels. I know most of her paintings. Georgia O'Keeffe. I love a lot of the women artists, people who really had to fight to think for themselves in a time that wasn't necessarily vogue.
When one looks at the artwork of other artists, be it plays, be it films, be it painting or a novel, we look for those resonances in those artwork, those pieces of art that will inspire us and make us want to create more, make us want to examine the human experience on a deeper level and bring that into our work, whether we're acting or directing or teaching.
My favorite play is Danny in the Deep Blue Sea. That play just it just does all sorts of things to me. Every time I read it, I love those two people, Danny and Roberta. I love them with all my heart. And that, I would have to say that was a very memorable moment, being able to do that play and be directed by my husband. That was very, very special. You know, we work really well together in a lot of ways. Sometimes we don't, but sometimes we do.
Macbeth and Henry V are two of my favorite Shakespeare's, but you know, then I love Tennessee Williams. I love Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. I love Steinbeck's, you know, plays like Of Mice and Men or Grapes of Wrath. But I mean, as many people know who have worked with me in class, John Patrick Shanley's Italian-American Reconciliation, Danny and the Deep Blue Sea, Savage and Limbo, those plays really speak to me.
When I was a little kid, one of the first movies I ever saw was Jesus Christ Superstar, and I have to still say that's my favorite movie. I'm embarrassed to say that, but it's
Good Will Hunting, Raging Bull, On the Waterfront. When people ask me this question, it's like sometimes I draw a blank. I'll go away and there's probably 50 other films that I go, oh, I should have mentioned.
my favorite song would have to be Into the Mystic by Van Morrison.
Thunder Road, followed up by New York City Serenade and Born to Run. There's always a little Blue Rodeo thrown in there somewhere, maybe a little Jayhawks, but those three Springsteen tunes probably say the most about me as a person if anyone was to try to put it into music. There's something really pure about acting in the classroom because it's not for the money of it. It's not a job. People are doing it with putting all their hearts into it and their soul into that. And when that moment comes where the performances reach that next level of emotional commitment, of perfection and the execution, it's like, it's pure art. So, I mean, that's kind of what it's like being at Rogues on an ongoing basis. Every session has the potential for those moments to come about when you go, this is a pretty cool place to be.
When you see an actor who's been struggling and struggling and struggling, and all of a sudden they break through, you know, and their idea up until then of what breaking through, you know, they melt down in tears and go berserk, and it's all very dramatic, and breaking through is not that at all. It's when they find the absolute simplicity of the truth of something, and they just immerse, and you can see the change happen. You know, you can see somehow them leave and this character come to life, and those moments are incredibly memorable. An anomaly. We are an anomaly. I mean, I can see why people didn't think we would work. We weren't supposed to work. I mean, for Christ's sake, we live in Calgary. You know, corporate mecca of Canada. Why should we work? And cowboys.
You know, actors from Calgary, how good could they be? I mean, really, it's Calgary. But I think it is changing things, you know, with projects like Brokeback Mountain, for instance, being shot here in open range, and major films being shot here, and people start to come here and go, oh, things are going on here. So maybe we'll become the next Hollywood North. Or build our own community, which I think is even more exciting, to have an Indigenous community here of Calgary filmmakers that will be the new wave. Why
should we work here? But it's precisely because of that we do. I think, you know, we're a place where people can come and be, and discover and play.
This is a single flower that has many petals that are continue to open. You know, what shows will we do next year? what students will come next year, what kind of work will evolve, what films will come to town that we will get to work on. Maybe we'll write some scripts and continue to create and evolve ourselves.
I think because this is a place of creativity, it's a place of art, it's a place of becoming. 10 years later, or 10 years from now, it just keeps becoming whatever we decide it will.
I think it's an exciting journey, and I think it's a journey that's going to continue on for a long, long time to come.
Company of Rogues was really like my first experience to acting teachers, I guess, and they've been there right from the get-go. They're passionate, they're committed, they're talented. Definitely the pre in Canada.
I got an agent saw me in one of their plays. We did our first little play down here, and she signed me up, and the rest is history. Since then, I've landed over 30 film and television credits, and I really owe it all to Company of Rogues. This is where I learned it all.
They provided me with a really solid training as an actor. And I think now when I have actors come in the room to audition for me, I'm able to speak their language. There's a whole vocabulary that goes with being an actor, and I have that. And I have Joe and Christiane to thank for that.
In a lot of ways, Rogues makes up my career. It's made me more visible to the public. It's given me a creative home. It's just been a lot of things for me. Rogues is a place where I can come to be myself, to create fantastic theater, to learn, and to help other people learn. And it's given me a lot of opportunities to flex my teaching skills, my directing skills, my acting muscle, and just given me a really fantastic place in the theater community.
Joe was my first. And then I had Christiane. There were a few in between, but nothing like those two.
And then my very first class was with Christiane, actually. Joe was on set. And she yelled at me, "You need to empathize with the characters! You are the character! Don't say him! It's not him!" She's not going to see this, is she?
The greatest moment with Company of Rogues was the very first play that the theater company, once they became a theater company, Rogues, the Italian-American Reconciliation, and I played Aldo. And I learned a lot just working on that play under the direction of Joe Norman Shaw. And, or was that Christiane? Yeah, I wasn't sure. You might have to cut that. I'm not sure if it was Joe or Christiane, because I did so many plays with either one.
You know, when I started, they were way down the street in a tiny little studio that was black, and the ceilings were all exposed and light fixtures hanging down and asbestos floating in the air. Like, I should really be suing them. And now, you know, the ceilings are covered up, it's painted, no asbestos that I'm aware of. So bigger and better, yeah.
The direction of Joe Norman Shaw, we did Italian-American Reconciliation, and I had some great moments when I worked with that play. I had a lot of wonderful revelations when I worked with Meisner, in the Meisner class with Christiane. I would consider her the best teacher I've ever worked with, and her and Joe as a combination. They have two completely different styles, but those two alone, well, there's so much you can learn and become a well-rounded actor.
Joe, Christiane, congratulations on 10 years. Amazing or how far one idea has come. Congrats. I love you both. Cheers.
Joe, Christiane, congratulations on your 10 years. You guys have been wonderful from day one. I love you both, And thank you so much for all you've taught me. And I'd love to come back, take a few more classes because I love it so much. And I will do that. You know, you never stop learning. That's the great thing about Company of Rogues, the best acting school in the world.
So congratulations, guys. Well done. And here's to another 10 years of continued success. I love you.
I wish you all the best. I know that the next 10 years are going to be just as great as the last 10, and I hope the studio grows and has more success than ever.
I've got this like reputation of being like the badass, right? And I know it. And that's okay. Like, it's perfectly okay. Joe is a very nourishing, very nurturing person. And I think I am too, but, you know, he's very, very, very gentle.
I used to feel like maybe I should be a little tougher, you know, maybe I should be a little nasty or whatever. I demand things of him, but hopefully I do it in a way that is you know, there's one hand that's with a little bit of stroke saying, it's okay, I believe in you, you know, believe in yourself, you can do this, and another hand with a little bit of push. So hopefully there's a balance of the two. I don't think it's that soft. I'm sure there are people softer than I am.
You know, acting is about always being curious and always asking why and never being afraid to ask why. And I believe that, you know, that's the beautiful thing about this craft, is that it allows and it demands of us, absolutely demands of us, that we don't stop asking the questions. We don't ever stop allowing ourselves to be curious about everything. We are brave enough not to be the heroes in our lives. We're brave enough to look at the shadow and to accept that just as much as we accept the good, and to observe something without judgment, but truly observe it. We learn what it is to really, really listen. You know, not just to what is being said, but to how it's being said. We learn about the behavior. And that's all about doing your work. And you're doing your work all the time.
No matter what the project is, whether it's a play or it's a film or a dinky little role in some cheesy little MOW, do it with integrity, do it with every ounce of your professionalism, and try to bring those characters to life in a very three-dimensional, real way, and never phone it in. Always give your best, no matter what the situation. And people will remember, will want to work with you and hire you because of the integrity and the honor you brought to your craft.